Being misunderstood used to be so upsetting to me, especially if it was by someone that I loved and cared about. And depending on how much choice you have when it comes to the relationship and also the level of closeness you have with that person, our level of expectation of how much we should be understood can fluctuate. For instance, your parents or your siblings versus your partner are very different because you don't choose your parents, but you do choose your partner. So if your partner is unwilling to see your point of view, then the expectation for them to change can be stronger. But with your parents or your siblings, their capacity to be able to understand you and see your point of view may or may not change, and yet they are still your parents or your siblings. So how can you be unbothered with a relationship like that? And how can you affirm yourself and validate yourself enough so that you don't get extremely unregulated when someone doesn't understand you and you can calmly communicate in a way that they may understand better? The more experiences that I had and the more emotional tools that I was able to gain, the faster I can get down from being unregulated. It's one thing to know that you can't control another person's point of view or actions or capacity, and it's another thing to actually feel in your body that it's okay that they don't. Being able to regulate your emotions is a combination of both mind, body, and lifestyle. In this video, I want to share with you evidence-based skills that will help you be able to regulate your emotions. These skills absolutely changed the game for me and gave me the ability to be so confident in what I was doing and knowing that it was the most effective route in order to get what I want in a way that doesn't hurt others. These skills have also allowed me to set boundaries very firmly, and if they upset other people, know that it's actually the best for both of us. If you watch to the end of this video, I also hope to convince you of the great importance of emotional acuity. Emotional acuity is the ability to perceive, understand, and respond to all emotions in yourself and in other people. I had a video on Instagram and TikTok actually go viral where I said that one of the skills that I possess is emotional acuity, and I cannot tell you how many hundreds of comments said that that skill was quote unquote nothing. Emotional acuity is critical for physical health, for mental health, for financial health, for interpersonal connection, for focus, and literally every single part of our lives. I believe that as a culture, we underestimate the importance of being able to understand, name our emotions. We demonize certain emotions like shame, like envy, like anxiety, like sadness, like anger. All emotions are catalytic in nature. They're supposed to push us toward action. Every single one has a function, but if we don't know how to properly use that emotion, that's when we get into trouble. And that's what emotional acuity is. You think that wars were started from an emotionless, logical place? No. People break out in fights because they don't know how to handle their dysregulation. They're acting from a dysregulated place. You could either be regulated or dysregulated. We might say that someone is acting out or being crazy. That is dysregulation. If you find out that someone has wronged you and then you slash their tires, that's dysregulation. When men get into fights because their egos are bruised, that's not an act of strength. That's an act of weakness. That's a lack of skills. That's not understanding what they're experiencing, what's going on in the brain and how it's affecting their body and motivating them toward action. It's because they don't have control. The thing about expressing anger is sometimes it can feel really good afterwards, but it's not effective. Just because you get that good feeling of release doesn't actually mean that you're living a life according to your values. And that's actually going to get you ultimately the results that you want and the connections that you want. It's like when you see in movies somebody quitting all of a sudden and not discussing it with their spouse just because it feels so good. That's because people are making a choice while they're in a place of dysregulation. When you live in a constant state of dysregulation, The effects are severe. Chronic physical pain. Increased cortisol will also lead to weight gain. You're gonna die quicker. You have digestive problems, bad sleep, a weakened immune system, poor interpersonal connection, anxiety and depression. Your focus is affected. Really, there isn't an aspect of our life that isn't touched by the ability to regulate your emotions. Really learning these skills and really having an understanding of what emotions do for me and how every single emotion benefits me. I love my anxiety. I don't enjoy my anxiety, but I love it because it's motivating me in a direction. When I'm experiencing anxiety, it's on purpose. It's saying, ooh, ring, ring, ring. It's an alarm. Something is wrong here. Something needs to be addressed. So if I can get to a place of regulating myself and then asking and reflecting, oh, why might I be experiencing anxiety and what can I change or shift so that I can experience this less? But if I never experience anxiety, then I'm not going to be motivated to do any kind of action. When anxiety completely takes over, when we're getting anxious over things that we don't need to be anxious about, it becomes a problem. But we still need anxiety. Say you have a homework assignment due tomorrow. Anxiety is telling us, maybe you should do it right now instead of waiting until the last minute. One of my favorite examples is experiencing envy. Envy is not a bad thing. When I am envious of something, it's just telling me that I have a desire. I'm never envious of people who are playing professional sports. Why? Because I don't personally want to play professional sports. Even though I think it's incredibly cool, that's not a desire that I have, so I'm not going to be envious of it. So whenever I experience envy, instead of saying, oh, that's a bad feeling, I just say, oh, that's showing me what desires I have. How might I be able to fulfill these desires? And I also trust to know that if I have a desire, I have the ability to fulfill it. I do not have the ability to be in the WNVA. Why? Because I do not have the desire. Envy equals desire. Desire equals it can be fulfilled in this lifetime if I apply myself. But if I never experience envy, how will I even know what I want? You know those movies where there is a society that experiences no emotion because every day they take a shot because they see how emotions have led to human destruction. And at the end, we always know, oh, well, living an emotionless life, even with all of the destruction that comes with being an emotional person, is necessary for a good life. So it's not cutting out all emotions, it's learning to regulate them and put them in their proper place. I know that each and every person has a calling on their life. Each and every person has something that they want to fulfill and manifest and bring forth and create into this life. There are some people who want to be doctors. There are some people who want to be goat farmers. There are some people who are doctors because society has told them, be a doctor, it's going to lead you to a great life. But really, in their heart, they want to be a goat farmer. Society and culture tends to say that certain occupations or certain lifestyles are more desirable than others. For instance, fame. Please. Fame is not something you should do unless you absolutely have to, and it's a calling on your life. The envy fame literally makes no sense. We've literally seen before our eyes people crumble with the pressure of fame, and yet we still all envy it. But all that to say is that to truly enjoy the game of life, we have to have the skill of being able to emotionally regulate. Let me share the evidence-based tools and skills that will allow you to be able to emotionally regulate. This is based off a therapy modality called dialectical behavioral therapy. Not a lot of people are as familiar with this modality, and even if they are, sometimes it can come across as very clinical or even kind of corny because there's a lot of acronyms that don't really make a lot of sense. But honestly, if you actually look past the corniness of it, the schoolish vibe that it has, it's extremely helpful. These skills are going to help you name and understand your emotions, decrease the frequency of unwanted emotions, decrease emotional vulnerability, and increase emotional resilience, and decrease emotional suffering. So let's get into the skills. The first skill is to check the facts. Do your emotions fit the facts of the situation? If you're experiencing an emotion, you take a step back and you think about the actual facts and be willing to reflect and say, maybe my emotional reaction isn't actually based on the facts. And if you can change your beliefs and assumptions to fit the facts, it can help you change your emotional reaction to the situation. The first thing you want to do is ask yourself, what emotion do I want to change? Then you want to ask, what is the event prompting this emotion? Then ask, what are my interpretations, assumptions, and thoughts about this event? Then ask, am I assuming a threat? And then ask, what is the catastrophe here? Then finally, you can ask, okay, do my emotions fit the facts? And do the intensity of my emotions fit the facts? This simple line of questioning can help you become a more regulated person. If you're someone who is more emotional and less logical, this one might be a little bit harder for you. And literally going through each step, taking the time to ask yourself these reflective questions instead of just giving into the emotion will help so much. And at the beginning, it's a little bit nitty gritty, but then eventually it just becomes like a flow. Again, these are skills, meaning at the beginning, you're probably not going to be as good at them, but if you practice, you will get better. The second skill is opposite action. When your emotions don't fit the facts, that means you want to do the opposite action urge to the one you want to do. Every single emotion you experience has an action urge. If you're experiencing fear, the action urge is to run away or avoid. Opposite action would be to approach it or not avoid it. For instance, money fears. Maybe you don't want to look at your bank account. Maybe you don't want to budget because you just don't want to see how much money you spend. Maybe you don't want to track your expenses because you feel like you're never going to get in control of them. You are fearing money. The action urge is just to avoid it, and hopefully it all works out one day when you make a lot more money. I guess you can wait for luck to visit you, or maybe not, but just like emotions are a skill, making money is also a skill. Getting a promotion is also a skill. Building a business, these are all skills. If you can't even look at your money because you're fearing it, how are you going to be able to make more of it in the future? That's one practical example of opposite action when it comes to fear. The emotion anger. The action urge is to attack. Say your boyfriend or your girlfriend or your partner makes you angry. You want to attack them. The opposite action would be to be gentle or just a little bit nice. And sometimes anger is justified, right? You only want to use opposite action when the emotions don't fit the facts. Especially if you're a woman, I'm not saying, oh, just don't be angry. Let the man just tell you what to do and it's fine. Just be a little tiny mouse and bow and bend to whatever they want to do. That's not what I'm saying. But that mindfulness piece and that self-awareness piece is extremely important. What do I do with anger and how can I use it to motivate me in a way that's actually going to get me what I want, not just receive a reaction and then we get nowhere. Say you're experiencing the emotion of sadness. The action urge is to withdraw and isolate. And when you're experiencing depression, all you want to do is be alone and withdraw and not be with people and not be a burden. The opposite action would be to get active. So if you're experiencing sadness, maybe what you want to do is sit in bed and rot. But if you're aware that you're experiencing sadness and you want to change your circumstances and be less sad, the solution isn't to sit in bed and withdraw and rot. The solution is to get active. Just do something. Maybe go on a walk, do dishes. And again, I'm not saying that this is easy. I'm saying that this is effective and that this is a skill. And the last emotion I'm going to go over is the emotion of shame. The action urge is to hide and avoid. But opposite action would be to tell that secret to someone who will accept it. These next skills are more long-term. In DBT, it's called the ABC Please skills. A stands for accumulating positive emotions. When you're in a really low place, if what you've been modeled has been hopelessness, if you haven't been given a great lot in life, if you have a lot of obstacles that you have to overcome, if it's health issues, money issues, or issues with love, those are the three big ones, it can be really difficult to see what is going right in your life. So taking intentional time to see the small ways that you can infuse positivity into your life is extremely effective. You want to try to do at least one pleasant activity per day. For me, that might be taking a walk. If you enjoy getting ready, maybe it's putting on a nice outfit. I had a few girls come over and we all made a dopamine menu. It's divided into 5 different sections. So you have your entrees. So those are things that might take a little bit of time. So for me, it's clean and organize my home, clear my emails, go to a coffee shop, have a picnic in the park, go to a yoga class, take an everything shower, all things that are super available to me, but it's usually like at least 30 minutes or more. Then we have starters. So that's something that you can do 15 minutes or less. On mine, it's paint my nails, dance, do a vocal warm up, practice posing in the mirror, stretching, doing a handstand, things that I could just do quickly throughout the day that I personally enjoy that infuse positivity into my life. Then we have the side dishes. Side dishes are things that you can do in addition to something else that you're doing. So say you are cleaning your house and you also want to listen to a podcast or put on some music. For me, sometimes when I'm in a low place, I'll go and take a walk to a grocery store, get a frozen pizza, come back, make the pizza, light a candle, turn on some music, right? I'm making these intentional decisions that help me have a pleasant life. It's very similar to the trend of romanticize your life. All truth is truth. The truths that you see on TikTok are the same truths that are echoed in therapy in different fonts. And being able to see truth through a bunch of different angles and through a bunch of different people and different energies is really important. Maybe saying the same thing from a different angle unlocks something for you. And that's why we need every single person to share who they are. Side note. And then we have specials. So those are things that maybe require a little bit of money and also some planning. So that's like, for me, that's plan a trip, go and get a manicure and a pedicure, go to a concert, get a massage, host friends, go to a workout class, get a tattoo. Like there are things that I might not do every day, but they're like more special for me. And then there's desserts. Desserts are the things that people usually go to and kind of overdo, which actually doesn't make them feel good. It's literally like, what if you were eating brownies from morning till night? It's not that brownies are bad, but when you're mostly eating brownies, you just don't feel good. So that's things like Netflix, scrolling, ordering food, online shopping, things like that. When you're doing these pleasant activities, you also don't want to be multitasking. Do the pleasant activity and just enjoy it, be present in it. Then there's building positive emotions in the long term. This requires a bit of delayed gratification. Building a business can be accumulating positive emotions in the long term. You might not make a ton of revenue right at the beginning, but as you continue to build, you know that you eventually will. So say you want to leave your job and you want to live according to your creative gifts, you need to start taking actions toward that. How do we do that? Step 1, avoid avoiding. Start now. Do what you need to do to build the life that you want. And most people know the first step that they could try. People sometimes get paralyzed because you don't see every single step to the goal, but most people know at least one step that could lead them to their goal. But because they don't see the whole path, they don't even try. But as you act, the path appears. The second step is to identify values that are important to you. And this isn't an easy thing because we're so influenced by culture, our families, what we consume. We're getting all of these external inputs of what our values are. External inputs aren't bad. However, we do need to take a step back and make sure that we actually know what we want. Because if you're trying to be a lawyer, but really you want to make freeze-dried candy on TikTok, you're going to be really disappointed. And you're probably going to have a bunch of values. So step 3 is to pick one value to work on. What is really important to you right now? And what can you work on immediately? Working on all of your goals all at the same time is also going to lead to disappointment. You have to build up to it. Once you work on one value and that kind of becomes a part of your life, you don't have to put so much willpower into that. It's more habituated. Then you can add another thing. It's not sexy. It's not fun. I know, but it is the most effective and actually the fastest way to get to a life worth living. Step 4 is to identify a few goals related to that value. And then step 5 is to choose one goal to work on. Step 6 is to identify a small action step toward that goal. And then 7 is to take that step now. That is how you build a life worth living, by taking one step now. All right, so that is the A of the ABC Please skills. Accumulating positive emotions in the long term and the short term. The B is to build mastery. I think about this constantly. So building mastery step by step. Plan on doing at least one thing a day to build a sense of accomplishment. Step 2, plan for success, not failure, meaning do something difficult but possible. Most people need to lower the bar. Step 3 is to gradually increase the difficulty over time. If the first task is a little bit too difficult, then go a little bit easier the next time. Step 4 is to look for a challenge. If it's too easy, then do something a little bit more difficult next time. The C is to cope ahead of time for difficult situations. Step number 1 is to describe. What is the situation that might lead to you being dysregulated? Are you going to a family party? Are you having a conversation where you have to confront somebody? Are you going to be in a place that's going to spike your social anxiety? Are you doing something that you've never done before? What is the situation? Taking the time to describe it. The second step is to decide what coping or problem-solving skill are you going to be using? Be really specific and think of different solutions. When I get there, I'm going to go straight to the drink section. I'm going to grab a drink and I'm going to make eye contact with one person. I'm going to talk to them. I'm going to this family gathering. I'm going to probably be triggered. My aunt is going to ask me about my love life. How am I going to politely decline that conversation? When am I going to leave to take a break? Do I need to take a little walk before I go, right? It's just planning and preparing for this difficult situation. It might seem obvious, but people don't actually do it. So it's actually doing what is the obvious. Step 3 is to imagine the situation. You want to visualize what is going to happen. And step 4 is to rehearse what coping effectively would look like. Literally practice mentally in your mind how you're going to handle the situation. And then the 5th step is to practice relaxing after you rehearse it. And if you actually cope ahead for a difficult situation, it will go better. The last emotion regulation skill I want to share is the please skill. Now, this acronym is a little bit funky, but once you kind of remember it and know it, it's actually really effective. I've seen a lot of people talk about this. They don't call it the please skills. It's those TikToks that are like, oh, turns out that eating enough, getting exercise, getting enough sleep, and taking your medication actually does make you feel better. That's essentially what the please skills are. PL stands for physical illness. It doesn't quite match up, but that's what it stands for. If you're feeling dysregulated and you have a physical illness, then that is something that needs to be taken care of. Of course, you're going to be more dysregulated if you're sick. But if you keep pushing through and you don't give yourself the rest you need or you don't see the doctor, then you're probably not going to make decisions based off a regulated state. Just keeping in mind that physical illness does affect your emotional state. The E stands for eating, making sure you're getting proper nutrition, enough food. This can be a bit of a complicated one because of diet culture and body image and all this stuff. Making sure that you have carbs, making sure that you have fats, making sure that you have proteins, making sure that you're not being extremely restrictive, not overeating, not undereating. I've seen so many people who are so tired or they're so angry or they're so grumpy. It's like, yeah, well, you haven't eaten enough. Giving your body food and fuel will affect your emotional state. The A stands for avoid mood-altering substances. If you're drinking, you're going to probably make decisions that you wouldn't have normally made. So any kind of substance that alters your mood is going to affect how regulated you are emotionally, which therefore affects literally every single aspect of your life. If you're working on wanting to be a more regulated and unbothered person, avoiding mood-altering substances is actually helpful. So if you're going to the family party, not just drinking your sorrows away, it may not be contributing to building a life worth living. I think we all know that if we're not getting enough sleep, we're probably not our best selves. So really making the time to focus on sleep, having an awareness that that will affect your emotional state. And then E, exercise. Doing some sort of exercise each day. If I'm feeling moody or if I'm feeling like angrier or more sad or just feeling more negative emotions, I just do a quick little check like, oh, am I sick? Am I getting enough food? Am I getting enough sleep? Am I getting exercise? And am I avoiding mood altering substances? Those are like, I go back to the basics. All of these very complex emotional problems that we're all working out in therapy can sometimes be greatly relieved by just focusing on the please skills. Like, don't underestimate how important just literally taking care of your physical body is. It's so underrated. People don't want to do the simple thing because their emotional world seems so difficult. They're like, oh, all I have to do is get sleep and I'm going to be fine. Maybe. Have you tried it? Have you actually nailed every single one of these things? Because how different would your life be if you actually had all of these things on lock? If there was 5 vitamins that you could take that would completely change your life, it would literally be these 5 pills. And this is a long-term skill. And it requires constant attention and cultivating it and caring about it. And that is self-care. That is self-love. That is self-obsession. And that is also caring for others. When you have all of these things nailed and you're in a regulated place, then you can do your mission in the world. You can have vision for your life. You can concentrate. You can focus. You're not stressed out of your mind. You can communicate well. These things are all so important and they all build on each other. Simple but effective. I again do want to emphasize that these things do take time. It's not something that you can know and then your life changes. It's about applying and it's about practicing continually. I am always practicing my emotional regulation skills. And the fact that I can categorize them as skills and I know which one I need in each given moment has been so helpful for me. And I've been doing this for about 3.5 years. The reason I'm so familiar with all of these skills is because I work part-time at an eating disorder treatment facility, and these are the skills that we teach our clients. And I've seen lives completely transform because of utilizing these skills. If you want to work with me one-on-one in applying these skills and figuring out what that looks like specifically for you, I have a link in the description and you can book a one-on-one call with me. It is one of my greatest joys to help walk people through really difficult times in their lives and really create a life that they love being in and know that inner peace, happiness, all of those are choices that we can make now, and we don't have to wait on any external thing. It's all available to us now. And that's all I have for today. Let me know in the comment section if any of this was helpful for you, or if there's anything that I didn't mention that has been life-changing for you. I would love to know. I appreciate you all so much, and I'll see you next time.